Hello and welcome to Scribes and Songsters. I'm Veronique Mandel. Well, we've taken the show on the road again and are bringing you this episode of Scribes and Songsters from Storytellers Bookstore on Ottawa Street in Windsor. Later in the show, you'll meet the owner of Storytellers. But first, I'm so pleased to introduce you to Elizabeth Walker. Elizabeth is a Windsor author who has written a number of books, including She Dreamed of Dragons and This Night Sucks. Love that title. Her most recent release is Slip Jig Summer. Elizabeth, welcome to Scribes and Songsters.
Thank you for having me.
These were charming. I really enjoyed them. But before we get to talking about the books, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live here in Windsor and I currently work at a health food store for pets called For Your Fur Kids, and then just write as much as possible in my free time.
So how long have you, when did you start writing?
Pretty much my whole life since I was like 4. I decided this is what I wanted to do. So,
4 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you were writing when you were little?
A little bit of everything. Yeah, into like Nancy Drew and stuff like that when I was younger, and then also the fantasy books when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Nancy Drew. I think Nancy Drew inspired a whole bunch of writers. And it's interesting because I always thought that, younger generations wouldn't even pay attention to Nancy Drew, but you did.
Yeah, they're always coming out with like the new ones with the new covers and everything, revamp it for the new generation. And then I also had my mom's older ones as well.
Yeah. When you started writing your first book, so which was the first one?
She Dreamed of Dragons.
She Dreamed, okay. Yeah. Tell the audience about She Dreamed of Dragons.
I actually started writing in high school, but on and off would just completely not work on it for years and then go back to it. And then it's published, I think, about 3 years ago, maybe 4. I don't remember now. And it was first published just as an ebook with an American publisher. And then about 6 months afterwards, they went out of business, unfortunately. But then I was lucky to find a local publisher, Mirror World Publishing, and they put it out.
Where did the inspiration for it come from?
Basically, when I was in high school, when American Idol was popular. So I was thinking of like a competition to become a princess. Is basically the story.
And the dragon, often I can see little girls thinking about princesses, but dragons? Where did that come from?
I don't really, it was actually kind of 2 separate ideas at first. In this world, people have magic passed down through magical creatures such as dragons. And then I had the separate idea of the princess competition. And then I basically combined them for this book.
Who was your favorite character?
Maybe Eddie, because he's a kind of the fun comic relief character.
And he's like, when I was reading this, I was thinking about Harry Potter and who's the red-haired kid in
Ron?
Yeah. He sort of reminded me of him. He was the sort of, if you're going to have somebody who was a little bit of a bully, it might be him, but he was also someone who was really supportive.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a favorite part of this that you'd read for us?
I've only ever read from the beginning before.
Okay, well,
I'm not very good
read from the beginning.
Reading, unfortunately. I just write this stuff.
That's interesting because often people say, I don't like to read my own stuff. You read it.
Yeah. I often don't go back and read stuff because then I just find things I want to change, basically.
And that's interesting you saying that, because I often say to my students who are writing as journalists, go back and read your stuff, because every time you read it, you'll find something to improve. And I think that they think I'm just making work for them. But you do, don't you, as a writer?
Yeah.
You always find something.
But then you have to find the time when it's ready to let go and send it somewhere. But then when you do read it, you realize you could have fixed stuff. And it's like years, like 4 or 5 years ago now. So you grow as a writer as well, or I
Yes.
hope.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Introduce us.
Okay, so I guess I'm just going to read from chapter 1, so then it should speak for itself, I guess, hopefully.
It sets it up very well, actually.
Okay. I didn't practice this recently. So a little violet envelope with sparkling silver wings fluttered through the fog in search of its destination. It came upon a crumbling building made of gray bricks, surrounded by an ornate metal fence that was covered in rust. The envelope fluttered through the fence's gate and then around the building 3 times before it decided this was indeed where it's meant to be. It then smacked itself against the window. Headmistress Ludella looked up from the letter she was writing inside. It was a particularly taxing letter, one which was written under desperate circumstances. It was a letter to the Queen, requesting funds for the one and only Mage Academy of Dorlith. The school was in dire need of money because every time it rained, the 4th floor flooded. The school's greenhouse had been burned down 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and the mischievous forest pixies had been stealing loose bricks from the side of the school and using them to smash windows. This was not only harmful to the building itself, but also the students who were trying to study within. Ludella was quite surprised when she looked out the window and saw the silver-winged violet envelope, the colors of Royal Mail. She hurriedly opened the window, one of the few still intact at the school, and let the mail in. It fluttered around the room, suddenly second-guessing if it had reached its proper destination. "Stop that, come here," Ludella told the envelope, which was silly since envelopes didn't have ears, and she should have known better. The mail circled high up by the ceiling, fluttering through the foliage of the trees that grew in the office and causing a few leaves to fall onto the wooden desk below. Ludella used her chair to climb onto her desk and jumped up and down, trying to snatch the envelope from the air. "Aha," she said as she finally caught it. The envelope continued to flap and flutter at an alarming rate, suddenly deciding it was in the wrong place. Ludella ignored the struggles of the envelope as she made herself comfortable by sitting cross-legged on top of her desk.
It's so descriptive, and you could see the opening of a movie. Do you see these things in your head? You know, some people kind of paint the pictures and then they do the writing.
Yeah, I can definitely picture it as scenes happening beforehand, before writing it.
Yeah. Now, tell me about, we'll have a chat about this one, but then we'll talk about your latest one. So I love the title. Why vampire?
I guess in high school, my favorite show was always Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And I like the combination of the scary stuff with the comedy. So that's why.
It's one could think that it might be difficult to do vampires and comedy in the same book, but it works.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but and like I said, I mean, the title is really cool. When did you write this?
It was after this one, and it came together pretty quickly. And then Mirror World agreed to publish it, which is nice. I have 2 with the same publisher, and they're local. Yeah. And it's more of a novella, so it was quicker to write that one.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about Slip Jig Summer.
And that's a book I kind of want to write for a while. It's about a ballet dancer who goes to learn Irish dancing, which was very similar to my own teen years, I guess. I did ballet for a while, and then I started Irish dancing as well. So,
do you know, I wondered, because I thought you know so much about both in here.
Yeah, definitely taking from life experience.
And tell me where, I mean, you set it in a very special place.
Yeah. Well, it takes place in Windsor because it's Orca Book Publishers is Canadian, and a lot of their books take place in all over Canada, basically. All their authors are Canadian.
Yeah. And do you know, I think most authors talk about taking inspiration from their lives. Sort of, where do you get inspiration? Does it come to you, or do you look at things in your life?
I don't know, I just would say reading books by other authors I like, and I'm not sure.
Yeah. How important is it to read?
I think definitely if you're going to be a writer, you should be reading all the time, reading the things you are most inspired to read or excited to read, but also reading outside of your genre to get a full view of what's out there and what's possible.
Do you find that a lot of young people are not reading?
Yes, this is actually part of a collection that are high-low books, so they're high interest and low reading level to get kids more interested in reading. And it's nice, quick read for kids, and or it's for kids who might not be at the same level as other kids in their class, but they don't want to be handed like a little kid's book to read. They want something that looks like the other books the kids are reading, basically.
And so this is for young people. Do you have fun writing this genre?
Yeah, I basically write for kids and teens only right now, and that's always what I've enjoyed to read, even as an adult. I just feel drawn to it, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting because reading these young adult books, and traditionally I don't read a lot of young adult books, but I didn't sort of I wasn't reading this thinking, oh, this is, this is not interesting, or, well, I can see that this is for young adults. It was just a good read.
Thank you.
Yeah. How are you getting it out there to these young people?
I've been trying to do some signings recently, and I'm going to be at the local fesh, which is the Irish dance competition. A lot of times doing Irish dancing, there's always tons of books about ballet, but there's never really books about Irish dancing. So hopefully the dancers like it when I go there.
And do you do book signings around the city?
Just occasionally. I just started to try branch out more to try get my books in the bookstores and maybe get noticed hopefully a little bit more.
Right. Mm-hmm. What about getting these kind of books in schools? Now, I know that many schools have gotten rid of their libraries, but yours, is this an e-book?
Yep, they're all e-books as well.
Because so many young people today don't particularly pick up a book, but they will read
you can just download them on your phone and read from your phone. Have a whole bunch of books right there in your hand anytime you want them.
I know. I mean, it's so convenient. And I often say, to my my writing friends, do you read on an e-reader or do you prefer a book? So many authors prefer to have a book, but I think it's because it's ours. So what's next?
I do have a book coming out early next year, and it's a collection of, I guess I'd say, fairy tales for young readers, and it's going to be illustrated by Nicholas Beckett. He's an artist from Australia. So that one's coming out from Henderson Publishing, and they're in Nebraska. So it's kind of a whole bunch of places collaborating.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so where can people buy your book?
They're at Juniper Books on Ottawa Street, as well as the Chapters at Devonshire Mall and the Coles and Tecumseh Mall.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Me.
You could want, oh, I would give it to you. I'm not pretending, yeah, I'm all in, all in, all in. You know you've always been a fool. I watch you find love every year, and in 2 weeks it disappears. Well, no, I never leave. And even though I'm just your friend, and for now I have to watch you pick and choose love, 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 like you can have anyone. Someday you'll notice me, noticing you. I wonder what I have to do. Tell me, am I worthy of your skin? Do I have to be Superman? Tell me, am I worthy of your limbs? Do I have to walk on water to be worthy? To be worthy? Ooh, to be worthy. confessing, I'm trying to say that I've fallen. I know that I've been such a fool. It's only when I'm in a dream where you're not out of reach. Well, no, that can't be. Is it the way I stand? Am I too short? Am I just a creep? Do I have to go? It's killing me. I need to know where I stand. Or am I just a friend? Tell me, am I worthy of your skin? Do I have to be Superman? Tell me, am I worthy of your lips? Do I have to walk on water to be worthy? To be worthy? To be worthy. Tell me, am I worthy of your skin? Do I have to be Superman? Tell me, am I worthy of your lips? Do I have to walk on water to be worthy? To be worthy? To be worthy.
Well, as promised, I'm going to introduce you to Linda Ward, who is the owner of Storytellers Bookstore here on Ottawa Street. Thank you so much, Linda, for having us.
Oh, I'm glad you're here.
It's always so much more interesting for us to take the show on the road and come in and do the show sort of among books. So now tell me, why did you want to open a bookstore? It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. I'm a huge book reader, and I obviously love books. And I was getting upset with having to purchase books at huge prices.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that there could be a better way to sell books and at a better cost. So I decided to look around for a spot where it would tell me this is where I need to be. And when I looked at this store, I knew that this was where I wanted to be. And I negotiated with the landlords for a very good rent. And having that great rent, I could keep my overhead low and keep my books very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. So,
what was it about the space that attracted you?
I don't know. It was airy and bright, and everything was brand new. There was facilities for handy-capable people. It was on a great street. Mm-hmm. There's wonderful independent local stores here, and I just kind of knew the minute I walked through the door that this was my spot.
It's a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Know it's like coming home.
Yeah, it's like my living room. I looked at a lot of properties. Oh, but this was my spot. So here we are.
Tell me about the people who come in here.
You
must have lots of stories.
Oh, I do. I have a lot of wonderful customers that come in here. Just very briefly, my very first customer when I opened up the doors was a lady with 5 children.
Wow, just the person you needed.
Yeah. And they were steps, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I'm so glad there's a new bookstore." And I said, "Come on in." And anyways, long story short, all 5 of her children received a book, and so did Mom. And she said, you know, this is wonderful. I still have enough money to get my groceries. So, and her being my first customer was almost like a sign that I should be here. The store is needed. There's a lot of people with kids that they can't afford to go to the big box store and buy 5 of their children books. But here you can.
Did she ever come back?
Oh, yeah. She comes back all the time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, with all 5 of her kids. Mind you, they're almost as big as me in the 3 years that I've been here. But her one son's got very bad eyes. And I've tried to get big print books in for him to be able to see them. So,
you know, that's what makes an independent bookstore like this so amazing and so special, because of that sort of very warm connection that you have with your customers.
That's right. And I do. I have a lot of really good connections with the kids. They torment me sometimes. You know, come and read me a book, and they get me a French book, and I can't read French, and then they tease me. Oh, you own a bookstore and you can't read, and I can't read French, but go get another book, get an English book. So a lot of the kids that come in here, I've developed good relationships with them. You know, there's one little boy, his name is Lucas. He's just got back from Sick Kids Hospital, and he's doing very well now. And I keep track of him. He colors me dinosaur pictures, and I put them on my fridge, and, you know, just really nice relationships that I wouldn't get anywhere else. I love my store.
So you have a bookstore. How do you decide what books you're going to put in the bookstore?
Well, a lot of times I pick a lot of my favorite authors.
Yeah.
I try and get a wide variety of different things for the store, because there's so many different genres of books, and I try and get a little bit of everything. I can't get, 5 or 6 copies of every book, because I would have to have a much bigger bookstore. But I try and get a little bit of everything. I don't have martial arts, though.
No?
No, I don't.
A reason?
There's too many different types of martial arts. I need a whole bookstore just for martial arts. So I've had one customer come in and ask me for martial arts, and he was quite upset. And I said, I'm sorry, but I try and get as much in as I can. I have another lady that came in last week. Her brother had a seizure. And for whatever reason, the only thing that calms him down is cats, pictures of cats. And I only had a couple of books on cats at the time. And so what I said to her was, I said, give me a couple of weeks. I'll order some cat books in for you for your brother. And when you come back, I'll have them for you. So I did get those cat books for her brother.
Wow.
And hopefully that'll help him recover, because it's got to be very frustrating for him.
And now you're very community minded here.
Yes.
Because you have book signings.
Yes.
For authors. I know I did one here myself.
Yes.
Which I was very grateful for. But you have other events.
Yes, we do. We have, in the summertime, we try and do an open mic once a year to feature local authors, local poets, local singers, bands, anything local. And usually there's a small fee at the door, and we donate that to local charities, which we've had a few.
You're very supportive of local,
yes,
and particularly local authors.
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
it's a tough go being a local author or an author, period, unless you get, huge success like
J.K. Rowling.
Yes. Everybody needs to put their works out there. And a lot of places take a consignment or a commission on local authors. It's hard enough selling your wares, and I don't take any kind of commission or consignment fee. I just want to, boost our local authors to get them out there, because their craft is important. We need writers. We need people who read books. We need lots of great things.
Yeah. Now you're celebrating your 3rd anniversary.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where do you want to be in 3 years?
I would like to be here full time. Currently, I'm working full time at a machine shop here in the city, Romeo Machine Shop. They've been in business for 90 years. They're a great company to work for, but I would eventually like to be here working for myself one day.
Well, I certainly hope that you are going to be here working for yourself one day and continuing to support all of us in the city and the county. It's really important. And thank you so much for having us here. I can't tell you what fun it is to be out here. And you're right. It is a tremendous space.
Yeah, it is a wonderful space. I love the store.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Well, that's it for another edition of Scribes and Songsters. I want to thank our host, Linda Ward, for her hospitality. What a delight she is. And our very special guest author, Elizabeth Walker. Thank you, Brian and Gary, for making all of this come together for every show. But we've enjoyed ourselves so much here. I have to tell Linda, here at Storytellers, we're going to present our next show from this wonderful space. So be sure to join me to meet 2 more talented and wonderful writers from Windsor and Essex County. I'll talk to you then. I'm Veronique Mandel.